Well, it's that time again. Sorry this is a little later than usual. Friday meeting all day and I didn't have time to work on this. This is Chapter 9 information for pre-algebra. The numbers you see on the picture that you're looking at are the numbers that were in one of the problems you had to do. It's find the mean, median, and mode. You have to think about what the mean is. The mean is the average. So I would encourage you to think of this as the average of the numbers. So we'll work on the average first. So I put them in order of, I sorted them out and put them in the order from the smallest to the largest. And if we add this up, we get 418. Now the next step to find the average is count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to divide this number by 7, and we'll end up with the actual average, which is 59 and 71 100ths. So that's really the average, so they call it the mean. The next thing we need to do is find the median. The median is the actual physical middle of the problem. So if you count, there's 7 of them, so the fourth number has to be the actual middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 61 is the actual middle of the numbers, and that's our median. It's the physical middle, it's not the average, which would be. The next thing we need to look at is the mode. The frequency of a number, how many times it appears. In this case, you want the one that appears the most. And we can right away see that because we put them in order that 67 is going to be our mode. It is the thing that appears the most. So if you think of it that way, it is the actual thing, the number that appears the most. So that's what we're looking at right now. So that's the mean, median, mode. That's Chapter 9. It's kind of some statistics that you can work on them a little bit. It's just the beginning level of statistics. It's not that big a deal. Just remember, mean is the average, median is the actual center of the numbers, and mode is the appearance of the number the most, who appears the most. So the next thing we're going to look at is y-intercept. So in this case, they want us to find the, the y-intercept. Guess I need to practice writing with the mouse a little bit more, because you can't hardly see what I'm doing. There, the y-intercept. And here's the problem they give us. Y equals 2x plus 5. All right, so I would encourage you to figure the intercept is going to always be a pairing where 0 is x, and then we can find y. So in this case, what we need to do is substitute in for the x, the 0, and solve the problem. And as you can see, y is going to equal 5. So when you have a problem that's set up in this order, this is a slope-intercept form. This is the slope of the line, 2. And x is 0 in this case. We know right away that this element with the unknown variable falls out when we substitute. So right away you can look at it and say 0, 5 are the coordinates for this. So 5 is the y-intercept. That is where the line touches the y on the axis. Hopefully that's clear. It takes a little practice working these out, and I'm going to show you another way to look at it in the next problem here. Let's look at this. This wants you to find the order pairs. So y, I lost my, y equals 3x minus 3. Well, I know my first pair. I'll encourage you to do this. Create a chart, x and y, and if I substitute 0 in for x, 0 in for x, this falls out. This is the y-intercept. Right away you can find the y-intercept in a problem if it's the mx plus b, because this is what the slope-intercept looks like is mx plus b. However, it can be a plus or a minus, just remember that. So we know that this m represents slope, and we know that if we put in the 0, do the substitution, we end up with 3. Now, because this isn't a fraction, I would encourage you to use the opposite of 1 and a 1 to solve for the other places to create a line. This is leading into graphing for Chapter 10 so that you can graph a line. So the next thing we will do is we'll substitute y equals 3 times a negative 1, because that's what we wrote down, minus 3. So in this case, we have y equals a negative times a positive, negative 3, and a negative 3 equals a negative 6. I borrowed $3, I borrowed 3 more, I borrowed 6 total. So this is another point that we can graph on our axis to show where the line's going to be. Then the next substitution is y equals 3 times, now we're going to use 1 minus 3. So y equals 3 minus 3. In this case, y is going to equal the 0. So here we go. This is 0 here. If you were graphing right now, you would choose you would make up your graph. Whoops, that's a poor arrow. Always put arrows on. This is going to be the x-axis, and this is y-axis, okay? Then it's simply 0 up, down 3, because the arrow says go down. So 1, 2, 3. This was our y-intercept right there. That's where the line's going to hit. The next one, let's go to the negative 1, negative 6. Did we do that one right? Yep. So then the next, let's do this one, 1 and 0. So it says go over 1 and don't go anywhere else. So here's our 1, okay? So the next one is go down over 1 and down 6. So let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over. So here's our line right here. And a line always has 2 arrows on it because it continues to go. So that's what it would look like on a graph. And you're going to do that in the next chapter. I only showed you now so that you'd have an idea. The next problem I'd like to attempt for you, which is another one, is slope. It's a slope problem. And you have to find the slope. So they're going to give you 2 ordered pairs. They're going to go 2 and negative 1. And then they're going to say the next ordered pair is at the opposite of 7 and the opposite of 2. Okay, here's where you have to remember some information. You have y2 sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, I would encourage you to set this up. This is my x sub 1 and my y sub 1. This is my x sub 2 and my y sub 2. And I'm going to do this so that they look correct. But I wanted you to see that this is how you would fill in your formula. Take the y2, we'll come over here to y2, this is y2, so you're going to be the opposite of 2, and you might as well make this, and the formula says the opposite of y1, which is the opposite of 1, so let's write that the way we should. Then x sub 2, which is a negative 7, and x sub 1, which is a minus x sub 1, 2. And then we have to complete the problem. Now check and make sure you did it right. The y2, the y1, the x2, and the y1. It takes a little practice to set this up. Once you do, let's solve this first. You have the opposite of 2. Negative times negative is positive 1. So we know the top is going to be what? A negative 1. We're finding the slope. Then the next thing we need to look at is the opposite of 7 and the opposite of 2 is the opposite of 9. So the opposite here tells us that this is really, the slope is 1/9. These take practice. You're going to have to practice them for a while. This is what Chapter 9 is mainly about, so good luck with it. If you have questions, please feel free on webmail to get in contact with me, my students that are watching this. And if not, you can always contact me if you're not my student. Hey, thank you. Have a great, wonderful time with this work. I'll be making more